Also for the pictures, when we're going through the pictures, do those about 10 seconds apiece, Jake.
Say it again, Kyle.
For the pictures, go about 10 seconds. Just like count out in your head. So we don't have it too short, we don't have it too long. I think 10 seconds is about good. He can't hear me.
What?
10 seconds for the pictures.
10 seconds? Okay, 10 seconds for pictures.
Yep, that's all I was trying to say.
Let me know when you want them up.
Yeah, they're numbered like 1 to 13, and so we'll just kind of go in order.
Okay. Kyle, you want me to go like 5 minutes?
Yeah, sure. Do you know?
You're going to be watching the clock anyway.
We'll see. If I don't see it, just get my attention. But
Ready?
yep.
Ready.
Welcome to another exciting show of spooky action at a distance television show. I'm your host, Kyle Finley, and this is going to be the best show east, south, north, all the directions of the Rockies. I'm here with Britny today, and we're going to be talking about religion and religious birds and whatever we want to discuss, I guess. Mm-hmm. So how you doing today?
I'm doing very well today. It's the weather is, it's doing that thing where it's really hot and humid, but that's okay. It's nice.
It's not. It's all right. Nice. It's not as good as being on the show because now you're a TV star, right?
I'm a TV star. That's absolutely right. Yes.
But you're famous. You're famous before this already, right? Because of your book. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, I wouldn't consider myself famous, but yes, I did. I came out with a book a couple years ago, in 2015, and it's a book of poetry and illustrations and prose pieces as well. And I guess if you want to talk about it now, we can talk about what the book is about, but then that leads into the conversation. Did you want to ask any other questions, or?
I feel like you're leading me now. No.
Okay, I don't want to lead you.
Before that, let's talk about how you got into maybe religious studies, because that's your major, right, from UNO?
Right, so I graduated in 2016, the fall semester, and I received a degree. It's actually a bachelor's in fine arts with a major in creative writing and a major in religious studies, and also a minor in ancient Mediterranean studies.
So you got all the good stuff.
Right, so I started, my first religious studies class was with Brady DeSanti. It was shamanism, and...
Oh, I wonder who that guy is. I don't know if he was like a past guest on this show,
or... I don't know, talking about native religions or something, right?
He might have talked about shamanism a little bit.
Wow, I don't know if he knows anything about that, but anyway, so I took a shamanism class with him, and I'm like, wow, these are the classes I wanted to take when I thought about going into, university and everything, and that's sort of what got me into it. But also, like with the major and the creative writing major as well, and then the ancient Mediterranean studies, I was trying to sort of create my own classics degree a little bit. We don't have a classics program at UNO, so.
What would classics be exactly?
Classics, ancient literature.
Like ancient, like classics, like ancient books that are
right.
famous.
Yeah. So
okay.
like Virgil, your Greek myths. I even wanted to go into some Vedic scriptures and things like that. So, that's why I did religious studies and ancient Mediterranean studies with creative writing.
Okay, so that's all very cool stuff. Is that what you wanted to do when you first got to college, or is that just something that you came out after you got into the field? You're like, that's really interesting. I'm going with that.
Yeah. I always wanted to do. Yeah, I sort of always wanted to do classics. But now that I have done the religious studies, I think I like it more than I like then I like the idea of getting a degree in classics.
Would you call yourself a bookworm?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I do. I love to read, and I love books, and I love old books, and, you know, by people who are dead.
By people who are dead, not people who are alive.
Right. I like books by people who are alive too, but I like myths, and I like the cultures that cultivated those myths and the religions behind those myths. And I especially enjoy origin stories. I love how every culture has its own origin story, and how that ties into the whole socioeconomic structure of that society at that point.
Okay. And you're also known as the Old Market Poet.
Right, yeah.
Is that a name that you gave yourself, or did somebody else call you that? How did that start up, I guess?
Yeah, so that's a fun story. I'm actually going to be doing another TV series about the Old Market Poet.
Oh, not as good as this one.
No, it's just as good.
This one beats all the other ones, just so everybody knows.
It's going to be on NET and everything, and but we're going to be talking about like how I started and all that stuff. But basically, my partner is a violinist, and he sort of gave me the idea to do it. And then I soon found out that there's actually a whole culture of people who do the whole spontaneous poetry with a typewriter in their own old market.
Yeah, but you're kind of the famous one around here, right?
I'm the only one that I know of.
One.
I'm the only and first one. So
old-fashioned typewriter.
Right,
you,
yeah.
like, ink it and everything or something.
I actually I just put a new ribbon in my typewriter yesterday. So.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a 1904 Corona 3 folding typewriter from World War I era.
From the World War I era.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's pretty awesome.
How much did that cost you?
A lot. One of the greatest investments I've made, though, because it's so portable. It's infinitely better than some of the other portable typewriters that I have, because it's so small. It's literally not much bigger. It's literally like 2 of these books put together. Like if you were to put them side by side, it's that big.
And who made that book? What book
this is my book. This is my book, WingMakers.
You gotta hold it up so the camera can see it.
Oh yeah.
This one.
This
you can
book
see
right
the red
here.
light.
Oh, this one.
We don't gotta zoom on there,
Okay.
but it's fine.
Okay. This is WingMakers, and it's a book of, like I said, it's a book of poetry and illustrations and prose pieces that. It's basically taking all of my obsessions and putting it into one book. So my obsessions, my obsessions are always changing, of course, but like everybody else's,
At the time,
naturally.
it's about ancient...
At the time, right, yeah. So at the time, it's about birds and constellations and the myths behind the birds that are actually constellations. So there's 12. So there's actually 10 real birds, but then 2 others that I put in, and I'm like, these are birds too, Pegasus and Draco. Why not? Those are birds. Yeah.
So did you start was it more like a fascination about the birds that led you to the book, or was it the constellations?
It was more about the fascination of the constellations and why they're in the sky, and why we've decided to say these 3 stars make this bird, and why these 4 stars make this bird, when there's actually no like clear pattern as to what's going on in the sky, but for whatever reason. That
was something that I wasn't really sure of. I knew it was about birds, and yet you do poetry about all the different kinds of things, but then you brought up the constellation. I was like, oh, well, that's a neat connection. Yeah, so the constellations, the cool thing about the constellations is that all of them have a myth tied to them. And there are some really extremely mundane things in our night sky, like a tripod, but it still has a myth to it. You just want to bring up the tripod.
I wanted to bring up the tripod.
I wasn't even going to bring it up, and here you're just like, gotta talk about it.
I just thought I would bring it up just briefly. But,
go
everything,
ahead.
Everything in the night sky has a myth tied to it, and that's what interested me. And plus, I loved birds and everything.
What's the myth of the tripod?
It's a symbol for Apollo. Okay. And each side of the tripod represents something that he embodies. Like one side's math, one side's science, and the other side's poetry. But it's actually like a stand-up tripod.
So you're only one side of the triangle, huh? Just the poetry.
Sure, yeah, just the poetry.
I'm just
Right,
messing.
right. No, that's cool.
All right,
So there's 12 poems and 12 prose pieces all together, and then some poems mixed throughout. And the prose pieces are the cool thing about the prose pieces is that they're
what is
not
a prose piece?
a prose piece. So prose is just
Pro,
not,
like I'm a pro at doing something, like I'm a pro at TV.
sure, yeah.
So that's a pro piece.
Yeah, that's a pro. But a prose piece, meaning that it's not lineated, so it's not poetry. It's prose. The prose, it
Oh,
occurs.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So
Prose, not prose.
right, prose. Yeah, Prose, not
Okay.
Pros.
Yes.
The prose pieces occur at the very end of the book, which talk about, like, go into the various symbols and myths that are being talked about in the poems.
So just kind of like background information a lot on like.
Yeah,
Okay.
background information. So if somebody, reads a poem and they're like, I don't know what any of these images mean, they
Probably,
can go
probably
to
me. That's what I would.
they could go into the back of the book and be like, oh, okay, so this image that you use here is tied to this myth or this lore or whatever. So yeah, so it's kind of like its own encyclopedia in a way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just on those 10 that you included in there, right?
The 12. There's 12. So
There's 12 in there.
there's 12 birds. There's the phoenix.
12 birds. Let's
Oh, I'm sorry.
Let's
So
make
there's
sure of
let's-
that.
yes,
12
let's clarify.
birds. They're all birds. We're including all of them as birds.
No. Okay. 10 birds and 2 just mythological creatures. The 2 mythological creatures are Draco and Pegasus, and also the phoenix, but the phoenix is a bird. And then the birds are the dove.
Well, we can just start going through them, I think. We
Okay.
got,
Yeah, sure. Let's
plenty
do
of
that.
time. So let's just go ahead and
Okay.
start with the Pegasus.
Okay. Yeah. Let's start
Which
with
is
Pegasus.
my favorite bird. Of all the birds, Pegasus.
Right, Pegasus.
That's the
Yeah.
first one that comes to mind.
Yeah. So what do you want me to do? Do you want me to read the poem and then talk about it, or?
How about we talk about like the origin of like the Pegasus exactly? Because like I
Okay.
would think European kind of
Yeah.
background.
Right. So
Somebody called it a chicken horse before. I'm not sure if that's anything.
chicken horse. Yeah. No, that's just somebody being very mean to the Pegasus.
Oh.
But anyway, so the Pegasus, yeah, it has its origins in ancient Greek history and Greek mythology. It's also known as the Hippocrene, and then Bellerophon is the name of Alexander the Great's horse, which I believe was named after like one of the famous Pegasus from
Bellerophon.
Yeah, but
So there's more than one Pegasus.
right, yeah, there's more than one.
Is it Pegasus or Pegasi?
Pegasus? I don't know. I have no idea. But yeah, there's more than one. Or like I believe there was believed to be more than one throughout each of the stories. So the first one, the most early one, is the story of the Pegasus with Perseus, who, when Perseus beheaded the head of Medusa, Pegasus was a gift to him to sort of get out of the situation that
Who
he
gave
was
him
in.
the gift?
I believe it was.
Be like Zeus or somebody, or
Yeah, I believe it was.
this is a generic
Oh
go-to,
no,
right?
no! I'm
Greek
so sorry.
mythology.
No,
Zeus
I'm
does
sorry.
it.
So yeah, no. So I'm sorry. Let me retrace. I'm thinking of a different story.
Okay.
Okay, so out of the head of Medusa was born a Pegasus, because a Pegasus is seen to be the child of Poseidon, and Medusa was raped by Poseidon, and so that was sort of like his birth. Like the child,
Oh,
the
okay.
Pegasus was seen, like in its earliest myth, was seen as the child of Medusa.
Medusa, the lady with the snake hair.
Right. Medusa and
And
Poseidon.
there's a horse that came out of her head.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
I'm sure there's more symbology in this,
Right,
somewhere,
of
but-
course. I mean, well, she was a cursed woman.
Mm-hmm.
Athena had cursed her because she was found having intercourse with Poseidon in her temple, and the name of the Pegasus that came out of her head was Wait, hang on.
Oh, hang on. I'll hold
Chrysaor.
on.
Chrysaor.
Chrysaor.
Yeah, Chrysaor.
I'm very good at pronouncing things too.
Yeah, Chrysaor. Yeah, so that's an interesting story. So the next one,
So there's multiple stories for each of these that you put in here.
yeah.
So why did you choose the Pegasus yourself? Like, does it hold any meaning to you?
Well, I chose the Pegasus because it's half bird. I mean, just biologically
or a full
speaking.
bird, something you
Sure,
can just insert it in there.
it's half bird biologically speaking, and the myths behind it tie into some of the some of the other myths that I have. So when I was putting this collection together, I was sort of putting it in an order where, like, each myth sort of follows another myth, and the whole point of the collection is to connect all of the cultures and the myths together, and be like, well.
Which happens to tie into this show's actual purpose, which is tying different fields of knowledge together. That's
exactly
spooky action at a distance.
Yeah. So that's exactly what this collection is doing.
Okay, so the other one that was connected to this was the Draco, right?
Right.
Which we got a picture of, but it's not the same picture of the Draco that she's talking about.
Right. Yeah.
We can show it anyway, so everybody knows that's not the Draco we're talking about.
No, that's not. This is the Draco. If anybody
Which is a flying lizard,
Yeah, it is a flying lizard.
Maybe I'll get the
most
pictures and we'll edit them in later.
Yeah,
but
that's no problem.
But the flying lizard is like kind of a bird. It glides.
It is, yeah, and that's exactly why Draco's in here, because he was a flying lizard. I mean, basically, for the most part. So my most favorite story of Draco is the
You don't know it
which
offhand.
one? Well, no, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of which one I like better. I think I like the Trials of Heracles more.
Not the one from Harry Potter, because the Draco and Harry Potter, that's a good story.
Oh yeah, no, not Draco Malfoy. No.
Okay, so what was the one that you liked?
So the Trials of Heracles. Basically, what happened? Of course, the dragon was guarding the tree with the golden apples, and in order to get the apple, because that was one of Heracles' trials, he had to kill the dragon. And
so is it like actual golden apples?
Yeah, actual golden apples.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like 24K,
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, real golden apples. Yeah, and then
so the Draco was guarding it, you said?
The Draco was guarding it, and Hera is the one that created the dragon to be the guardian of the golden apple tree. And Hera, she being the drama queen that she was, she mourned for the dragon and put his remains up in the stars. And so that's how.
And so then Constellation.
Yeah. So the constellation, exactly. Yeah, precisely.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and so a lot of these have exactly the reason why they're in the constellations, especially the ones that are tied with Greek mythology.
Okay.
Because it's usually because some god or goddess mourned the death of, said person and then put him up in the stars. So yeah.
So those two were both from the Greek mythology. Are all these kind of like tied in with Greek mythology, or do you kind of?
Yeah. So I go into various other mythologies. There's definitely some Norse mythology. There's Native American.
I think the raven, right?
Yeah. Let's go to the raven. Let's do that.
I think we have a picture of a raven. It's a wonderful picture that I found.
Oh my gosh, that picture. It's a good picture.
It's a good picture.
Okay.
What's wrong with that picture? It's a raven.
Funny.
He's happy. He's crowing.
He is really, he seems really happy. So the raven is among Native American stories. I wouldn't consider them mythology precisely because they're being practiced. The stories are being practiced as religious tradition to the day.
Mythology is kind of like it's dead and gone.
Yeah, mythology is a culture's way of expressing itself through history. And so, like, once humans are extinct or whatever, people are going to dig up relics of Native American tribes and be like, oh, we can try to piece together what mythology this is from and things like that. But since it's a current, since there are current existing cultures existing in a community using these stories for ritualistic practices, then
It'd be called a religion instead.
Right,
so
exactly.
it's still practicing.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So in Native American cultures, in many of the Plains ones especially, the raven is seen as a trickster, and there's a story of him being the thief of the sun. And basically, like in the story, this is one of the longer stories I have in here.
You can't sum it up.
I'm going to try to sum it up. So, I don't know, the raven, it's interesting because the raven as this trickster reminds me of Prometheus a little bit with stealing the flame. Except that the raven steals the sun because he thinks it's a pretty object, and so he wants to take it.
Yeah, and then I was also saying, because we were talking about Norse mythology, isn't the raven also in Norse mythology?
Yeah. In Norse mythology, the raven is seen as he's seen as the one who brings the secrets back from all of the living humans and talks to Odin about them.
It wouldn't be tied into Loki, right? Because Loki was kind of the trickster.
Right. So in Norse mythology, the raven's not a trickster.
Okay.
But in Native American mythology, he is a trickster, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because he's a very revered trickster because of his actions, positive things came about. The seasons and you know, the difference between night and day came about when the raven stole the sun.
That was one thing. If anybody who's seen our episode with Brady, they talked about how the trickster, you know, when Europeans came over and they saw Native American practices, they're like, oh, the trickster, that's got to be the devil, that's Satan.
Right.
Tricking people into, you know, making them do, you know, not good things and whatever, but that's not how Native Americans necessarily see it, as he tricks people into seeing the truth, you know.
Yes, exactly.
So it's like kind of a good thing, even though it's a bad thing at the same time.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah,
kind of a big
the
difference.
tricksters, they trick people into seeing the truth and seeing how the way the world works, but also being the cause of the way the world works and the cause of the truth, which is really interesting.
All right. Well, we don't have to do the whole story, you know.
Yeah, no, it's really long. It's super
speed
long.
Read it goes super fast.
It takes up like a whole page and a half, so I won't go into too much. But that's basically like the gist of the story with the raven.
Now your favorite one,
the Phoenix. Yeah, let's go to the Phoenix.
I didn't even have to say it. You already do it. You took the words out of my mouth.
Sorry.
But it's the one on the cover of the book.
Right. Yeah, the one on the cover.
Yes.
The Phoenix is
we have
rooted.
a picture of it a phoenix. Any second now, it'll be up
There
there.
it is.
It's a phoenix, and we have some party members trying to fight it. Lovely pictures by Google, by the way.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so the Phoenix is rooted in three primary cultures. There's Phoenician.
Harry Potter is the second one.
Sure, Harry. That's not the culture.
The Order of the Phoenix. It's in there. They have a phoenix.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, okay. So the interesting thing is like the Phoenix is sort of a universal symbol for regeneration, and also seen as a symbol for the regeneration of nature, like when winter happens and then spring happens. But also a sign of immortality, because the phoenix never dies. It constantly dies, but it becomes reborn. So the first, like probably one of the more ancient myths is the ancient Phoenician myth, which ties into. So basically, it ties into some sort of Egyptian stories, but also the story of Cadmus in Thebes, and this is like the Phoenicians are named after the phoenix, so
Okay.
that's where they get their name from.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And where's their culture located at?
Phoenicia, that would be like the Mediterranean, just where Greece and Rome are, or Greece and Italy.
All right.
And then in Egypt.
But too bad they're not like the phoenix, because they apparently died out, right?
Right. Yeah. Right. So in Egypt, the phoenix was seen as the bird called the Benu, which kind of looks like it's like a mauve-looking heron. It's a red heron, and that was seen as the phoenix at the time. And then, of course, in ancient Greece, the phoenix was the symbol of Hyperion, and also named after the sun. Or I'm sorry, The phoenix was named after the Egyptian sun city called Heliopolis. That's where the phoenix was seen to be born.
Yeah, it's like kind of like a big famous
right.
city,
That's where its
so.
big that's where its big nest was to basically go to die and come back.
Now, was that like, did they think it was like an actual physical nest, or was
Yeah,
it more of like
They actually believed there was like a physical nest.
phoenix there that nested there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That's really interesting.
It is interesting. Yeah. And it's just a really, I just love it because it's a symbol for immortality and
you want to be immortal, yes? I
yeah,
get that.
of course, everybody wants to be immortal. And the cool thing about the phoenix is it also ties into the story of the peacock as well, because the peacock was seen as a phoenix in some cultures.
Really?
Yeah,
You got a picture of the peacock.
Do you
Any
have a
second
picture of
now.
the peacock? Yep. Yeah.
A peacock.
Yeah, yeah. Because every year it drops its feathers and regrows them, much like the phoenix was said to do. So.
Okay, so they're very similar then.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah, they are.
Do you see like the stories, the myth, like tying in between the phoenix and the
I do.
peacock then?
Yeah. Let me go back to the peacock really quick.
Because like the phoenix, I know with the peacock, it's more focused on like the eyes of the feathers a lot, and
Right.
especially in like Hindu
Oh,
mythology
for sure.
and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Let's talk about that a little bit. So if we can, I'll go super fast.
You have to
I
go
know-
super fast.
I will. So there's Yazidi with the peacock angel, which the eye of the peacock was seen as the cosmic egg of birth. There's Hinduism. Of course, Krishna sought after the peacock feather and was gifted it at one point when he saved the peacocks from being eaten or whatever.
Now, do they also have myths of like a phoenix as like a separate bird, or are they kind of combined
No,
together?
from my research, I couldn't find any evidence of there being a
separate
phoenix
kind
in
of. Okay.
in Hindu religion. And then, of course, in ancient Egypt, the peacock feather, it was either a peacock feather or a ostrich feather that was being used as the balance for when people would die. A feather would be balanced against their heart in order to see if their heart was equal to the lightness of the feather.
Anybody who watches the new show out there, American Gods,
Right.
they do that.
Right,
They
exactly.
pull your heart out, they put it on there,
Yeah, that's
see if you're good or bad.
right. That's yeah.
I like how the one lady's like, I'm not even going to go there.
Yeah.
She just leaves.
In Buddhism, there's Ti Kuan Yin, who was seen to transform into a peacock. In Persia, that's sort of self-explanatory, but the peacock was seen as a creature of fortune. In Greco-Roman mythology, the peacock's feathers were Argus's 100 eyes. Argus is the big giant with the 100 eyes that Hera created.
Yeah, kind of like a peacock. 100
Right,
eyes.
she watched over Io and everything. And then in Christianity is actually probably one of the religions that coined this whole belief that they're immortal, they're symbols of immortality, and that's where it ties in with the phoenix a lot.
All right. Well, we got through about half the birds on the list here, so
Yeah.
we got a whole bunch more to go over again.
That's true. Yeah, we
And
do.
you'll be back here for another show then, huh?
Of course. Yeah, if you want me to come back, and maybe I can read a couple poems too, and we can,
Okay.
go by each stanza.
And then you also
talk
do
about it.
tarot reading, right?
I
Tarot
do.
reading,
I do tarot readings. Yeah.
Does it tie in with the birds?
Not so much, but
Not so much.
but interestingly, I'm actually working on a collaborative project with someone that's going to be about
Okay.
the tarot cards.
Well, we'll have to talk about that another time. I want to thank all our viewers for watching, and we'll see you next time on
Yeah.
Spooky Action.